am Jenny.
And I am Benj, and we're here again for another interesting episode as we welcome you all to
The show where we look at the food of the past and the present
to get a glimpse of the plate of the future. Hello mga ka-Future Plate and welcome to another episode of the Future Plate Podcast. Jenny, alam mo ba yung agritourism?
Oo naman, kasi common yan dito sa Italy. So, usually, pag sinabi mo agritourism dito sa Italy, usually mga bed and breakfast type siya. Tapos, may farm, may products, minsan may mga farm animals pa. So, actually, isa siya sa interest topic ko nung nag-aaral pa ako dito. Na parang sila, common lang yan sa amin. parang ganon. Pero dahil dyan, syempre yung medyo mas naging familiar ako is yung dito na landscape. Interesting naman at curious akong malaman kung paano yung agritourism sa Pilipinas. Kaya naman, we invited Raf Dionisio of Mad Travel.
Sige, to get a sneak peek of our guest for tonight, ayan po. Raf is a social entrepreneur who dreams of a world that is poverty-free and sustainable, focusing on building the green economy, starting with planting 3 million trees in Zambales and sustainability education. This involves ecosystem restoration, such as forests and mangroves, and on cleaning up the oceans from plastic waste. He is focused on creating balance between the city and countryside by creating connections with farmers, forest, indigenous people, and fishermen, among others.
Yan. Welcome, Raf! Welcome to our show.
Welcome. Good evening.
Hi guys. Good evening and good morning. Good morning ba? Tama.
Good
Afternoon.
afternoon yata.
Good afternoon sa Italy. Yeah, thank you for having me. Really, it's an honor. Thank you.
All right, so let's get to the Let's get to the main point ng ating usapan ngayong araw, ngayong hapon o gabi. So Raf, can you tell us more about agritourism and maybe ano pa yung pinaka-purpose niya?
Okay, so I think it's interesting na Jenny, you shared na nasa Italy ka. Kasi one of the best agritourism farms in the world is actually in that area. If not mistaken, it's called San Patrignano, which is is it near you?
I've been to San Patrignano.
Oh, it's so
in
beautiful.
my region, yes.
Ayun. That was the basis that was the inspiration for the first agritourism farm I worked for, which was GK Enchanted Farm, where I was there in 2013 as a volunteer. And then, it's very interesting kasi throughout those 2 years of working there, kitang-kita yung you'll be able to see all the, how to put it, business and food security opportunities that are in the Philippines, because literally every crop that we looked at had potential to become a national scale product in many ways, whether it was chocolate or coffee or mushrooms, or even just ube, purple yam. So the farm itself was interesting in the sense that it attracted a lot of people to learn about the different opportunities in agriculture. And of course, enjoy it din kasi mas masarap yung hangin. The food is a lot fresher. So for the same amount you pay in Manila, you'll get, real good value for money. And sometimes cheaper also, depending on where you eat. I'm just curious, like, why is this such an important topic for you guys? Because you covered also a lot of things, diba, in your program.
Ito talaga, katulad ng nasabi ko kanina, it's an interest topic talaga for me since I moved here. Kasi nga, yung uniqueness ng bawat lugar sa Pilipinas. Parang imagine mo if there's a thriving agritourism as an industry, di ba? Parang how much job creation, opportunities and everything na hindi lang siya parang centralized sa, Manila lang lagi or whatever. Parang exhaust yung opportunities for every region or every town. Ganun. Kasi in my region here in Italy, in Emilia-Romagna, common siya. And like what you said, yung San Patrignano pala yung model agritourism, which is very interesting, very well known. May documentary siya on Netflix, right? Na if people are interested,
Panoorin ko yun.
you can watch that. But being there, nakita ko rin kasi na ano siya, parang mature siya talaga as an industry, but it gives people parang a lot of opportunities. And maybe people are not aware that some or most of the people in San Patrignano actually are drug addicts. They are
recovering, right?
rehab. Yes. Parang rehab place siya. The people there actually feel that they're parang a part of a bigger ecosystem. That's it. It's really an ecosystem building na may pakinabang sila. Hindi sila, parang hindi sila salot ng lipunan. Parang ganun, given na ganun nga yung mga naging background nila. So, they get to be reintroduced to the society much better. Ganyan. So, yung advantage. Yeah.
I'm actually happy you mentioned two things that are, I think, very well connected to agritourism. One is the opportunities that we don't know, because parang the education system of the Philippines is very disconnected from agriculture, and it's also very disconnected from how to do business. Parang a lot of our education kasi is oriented towards a specific skill, like maybe nursing, or it prioritizes different jobs, no? And one of the reasons why we were such an interesting colony for different countries was because of the potential of agriculture. It's well documented in the American Senate meeting minutes that no field in California can rival the fertility of fields in Luzon. They were referring to, at that time, Pampanga, Tarlac, Nueva Ecija. And it's just that it's that potential really that is, I think, mind-blowing, no? And that same potential and the disconnection that we have, yung farmers natin are not very affluent, no? Normally farming is associated with being poor, diba? So that's what gave rise to the Farm Tourism Act, right? Which is supposed to push agricultural based tourism, right? So that when you eat outside, you eat closer to your food system. And it does have large potential to create jobs, very visible, especially during the lockdown. That's when a lot of the agritourism shut down. For example, I was just in Costales Farm 2 months ago, and they were telling us that pre-pandemic, they had over 100 employees, but pandemic time, everything shut down. They were just into supply of agriculture. They only maintained 1/5 of the employees. No? So the tourism accounted for parang 4 times the number of headcount. No? Because there's a restaurant or guiding, and then people were willing to buy higher value products that they could produce. So that was really very valuable. And I think at the core, agritourism is about connecting the market to the production, right? Because many people in the Philippines can cook very well, but I don't think most of these products will make it to the shelf of a national supermarket for various reasons, whether masyadong malaki yung supermarket, I cannot supply everything, or yung BFAD approval, it takes a while. No? But if you're in agritourism, rather than you bringing the product to the city comes to you. So it allows you to sell. And we've seen that I've seen it personally in Enchanted Farm, where we were able to get 30 to 40,000 visitors in a year in 2014. And then I've seen it also with Mad Travel, where even the not lowliest, but the farthest communities and the ones that are least developed, no electricity, no running water, can still make a decent living out of agritourism. And there really is a multiplier effect for it, no? Because suddenly the communities, the restaurant, the farmer is the guide, they're also the pasalubong store, no? So multiple points of entry for different streams of revenue, no? And yeah, it's definitely something that we need more people to jump into because there is so much potential in that, no? Sayang naman if we don't. Okay. And if I can just add, no, parang there are two farms in the Philippines that I really enjoy going to. One is I already mentioned Enchanted Farm in Angat, Bulacan. The other one is Tuminugan Farm in Manolo Fortich in Bukidnon. Because with them, they're growing, apart from growing organic vegetables, they're also growing coffee, right? They're also restoring the ecosystem so that very natural yung movement ng ano nila, ng agriculture nila. And it's an excellent tourism site because the nicer nature is the better the tourism experience.
Thank you, Raf, for sharing that. Pero based na sa experience mo, ano yung mga challenges ng agritourism sa Pilipinas?
One challenge I think would be the training. Kasi if you're in tourism, you're talking to people. What I've noticed is a challenge is the farmers we work with at least generally do not understand the market that they're attracting. So halimbawa, they might treat a guest from the neighboring province the same as a guest from Manila, the same as a guest from Italy. And those three people are completely different in needs, in flavor preferences, right? In parang bathroom needs, and in the stories that they're interested in, it's different. A foreigner might be interested in just your local vegetables, but if the person's from the neighboring province, they're not interested in that. Or a person from Manila might not be interested in that. So it's understanding the market is one thing. So I would say maybe it's more of the business side of handling guests that people might not understand. No, the other one is sometimes perhaps the people at the farm are not able to identify what makes them interesting to other people. Because you're so close to home that it's normal for you. You don't understand that it's not normal pala for other people. Right? And we've gone through that similar experience where here in Subic, where we do there's a community that does some farming here. They have calamansi, beside a forested area, and we were not able to identify immediately what made them special until Forest Foundation came over and pointed out what was good about the community, and then we're like, yung pala yun, no? So, I mean, we're not the experts. I don't think so. We're just very interested, so we just keep trying to learn. And ayun, no? So it goes back to I think the biggest gap is really the knowledge on where you are, what you have, and how that might be interesting to certain segments of society.
Okay, thank you, Raf, na napakaganda ng pag-pinpoint mo dun sa challenge na yon. And actually, I've been to GK Enchanted Farms na rin noong 2013. We brought a bus of our students there. And we, for a while, nagkaroon kami ng internship doon, one shot na nag-intern yung mga students namin doon. So, I think that was 2014. I'm not sure.
Ayun, I'm sure I was there na.
Baka na-meet mo yung mga students namin doon. Anyway, hindi ko na masyado maalala. Ang tagal na. Pero nakakatuwa na meron palang mga ganong developments sa agritourism. What about in terms of maybe strategy? So we have key players here, like maybe the government, the farmers, or other players in the agricultural sector. Ano kaya yung magagawa ng bawat isang player na ito in terms of promoting agritourism?
Well, maybe what I can do is I can speak from the perspective of where our company is within, kasi we're DOT accredited, no? So whenever we work with DOT, parang we're most used when there's a certain community that is interesting but may not have the service level needed for a lot of guests. Kasi serving 3 people is easy. Serving 40 people is different. Dami ng pagkain, tapos kung 1 or 2 dishes, madali. But if it's 5 or 6 dishes, it becomes completely challenging, really like a restaurant. No, there has to be a lot of collaboration within the different industries, whether you're a farmer, you're government. No? I think on the farmer side, it's safe to say that not every farmer will want to be in tourism. Some will, some won't. And maybe in the communities we work with, I would say for every one person that is very interested, there might be at least 5 who are not. And that's okay, right? We can't have everyone in tourism also, right? And that's why while you're pushing for the tourism side, we must also simultaneously be pushing for the progression and development of the agriculture. So I guess what makes agritourism interesting is because you're promoting agriculture. So if your agriculture is bad, then your tourism will naturally also be bad. No, so for example, there's a rice farm that we're eyeing in Batangas, and one of the things that we wanted to push there was that based on our analysis, they don't have the optimum seeds used. They're lacking water half the year, and their fertilizers are not optimized either. So there's opportunity to intervene in the agriculture side to increase the yield, so that when you go to market with the tourism program, your story is instead of saying we are producing at the national average, now you can say we are producing at twice the national average per hectare of rice. And so I think there's that combination talaga that's powerful. Because the better your agri is, the better your tourism story is. At least that's what I've seen. And on the government side, we've been able to talk, we've worked with local tourism, we've worked with local agriculture units, we've worked with national level tourism also. I think there are a lot of people who are very passionate and want to see farmers really make it. No? There are so many good souls out there who want to make it work. But it always requires collaboration, no? Because government has a role, farmers have a role, and so do and so do private enterprises. No, if the farmer is the entrepreneur, then we're lucky. You have 2 people, 2 skills in one person. But that's not always the case, no. So sometimes you need the farmer to produce, and then the farmer needs a partner to help sell it, no. There's this saying in business, you need 2 people in business, one to make the product, the other to sell it, no. And it's very apparent in many products in the Philippines where even the best companies like Procter & Gamble or Unilever, they all produce, but they all have distributors to sell for them. So if the biggest companies in the world have someone to sell for them, so should a farmer, right? And I think that's where the tourism agencies come in, because they can really help sell it and make it easier, simpler for the farmer to operate. No, not just that. It could be the local government unit. It could be other tourism establishments. No? But safe to say, it's a varied skill set to pull it off, no? And so it needs collaboration. No? And so I was thinking lang, probably one roadblock there or thing to hurdle might be the connection between those who know how to sell and those who know how to produce. So that's the farmer and the business. Kasi it's not a natural, yung mundo nila don't naturally intersect. If that makes sense. Kasi if they did, I think there'd be more companies like ours. But at the moment, I don't see as many. No? So maybe it's not a natural progression yet.
Yeah, and since you mentioned na siguro nga mas maraming companies like yours kung yun yung state, di ba? So tell us more about Mad Travel. Yan.
Well, we started in 2015. We were born out of Enchanted Farm. And our main purpose back then was to work with local communities. No? A lot of urban and rural poor communities, mostly farmers. But we stumbled upon by a twist of fate, working with indigenous people in Zambales, and that has spread to Subic, to Rizal, no? And We do the tourism side. So we bring people there, we make sure that the food is good, it's appropriate for you. But we also dive deep into their resource base now. So if they're farmers, then we look at what products they can sell, and we try to combine the best of what they know with the best that science has to offer. So there's this saying, parang bring the best of the countryside and the best of the city together, and then you have a very interesting and big value proposition. No? So for example, while the farmers might say, "Oh, I'll cook you we'll cook stuff in bamboo." No, like tomorrow we're serving we're serving laing cooked in bamboo. Tapos they add a little yellow ginger. Sarap. No? My request was, Ate, can you please make herbal tea for us? Oh, anong gagamitin natin? Sa amin, gamot lang yan. And hindi. Take your coffee leaves, take your mango leaves, take your banaba leaves, and then let's make a tea buffet for people. No? And then they're like, oh, talaga? Pwede ba yun? May iinom yan? Yes, may iinom yan. Just let me tell the story properly. Someone's gonna drink that. And it always works, right? So we bring a little something to the table, understanding the culinary interest of people, and they bring something to the table. No? And when it's together, it's interesting talaga. Kasi it's a real unique combination that you don't find in restaurants, no? For now, no? So yeah, that's what MAD does. No? We work with the community. We try to understand their strengths and opportunities, and we work around that. No, so if the community has land for forestry, then let's work on that and get you forest products. If it's more farm based na fruits na vegetables, rice, then we'll work on that. No, right now we're going deep into soil science, so we're trying to understand then how we can rehabilitate the soil so that you need less fertilizer. We're looking at water retention programs. So in Zambales, where we run one of the a very unique farm tourism program, our goal is to come up with permaculture ponds so that we can store water for the farmers, and because water is an issue of most of the farmers in the country.
You've been in this business for maybe almost 8 years. But in that time, ano may nakita niyong mga impact ng mga projects or collaborations ng Mad Travel dun mismo sa communities and for the farmers themselves, how it changed their lives? Of course, mostly for the better. Yun. Other than the things you just mentioned.
One is you can really increase income of farmers. Maybe just to give an example, there was one tourism site we walked into where all they would do was charge entrance, which is your standard Filipino pay your 50 peso entrance, here it is, no? So we sat down with them, asked them we figured out ano ba yung kwento nila, we figured out what are the items inside their forest that are delicious or that are interesting. Then we looked at their cooking skills. What can you cook? Right? And we came up with an entire 3 menu sets. And after that, today, rather than them earning 50 per head, they will earn something like 500 per head. So times 10 yung kikitain nila. There's more work also, but there's more income. And parang we're able to charge as well. And so everyone's happy because dati, parang people would pay the 50 and say, ano ba yan? Lugi ako. That's it, entrance. But now, they're happy to pay more, but they get a lot more. The food's good. Someone's explaining to them everything. Talagang alalay sila into the whole farm area, and someone's able to explain to them what these things are. So people come out with full bellies and a new experience and knowledge. And I think that's a gift of farm tourism or agritourism, because it can become a fun way to learn about food security, which is a relatively heavy topic. Kids nowadays, if it's not fun, I don't want to give it my attention. Fun is a good currency that farm tourism can provide.
Siyempre, umiiksi na yung mga attention span. So, siyempre, keep the fun. So, tama nga naman.
Oo.
Ayan. Sige. Gaano kalaki yung role ng agritourism? Not just in your company, pero sa agriculture sector as a whole, you mentioned a perfect example na nag-times that yung income. Pero how do you see yung potential niya pa?
It's huge kasi I mean just my personal example of they can charge, they can get 10 times the revenue, or hosteless farm who is able to give 5 times more jobs when there's tourism. It's a very interesting proposition, and I think that's why our lawmakers really pushed for it to have a law. The act, the law itself is not called agritourism law. It's a farm tourism law, because farm is what people associate with, not agriculture. If you look at Philippine stats, parang every three of 10 people will have 1 hectare of land in their family's name somewhere. Pero it's likely been abandoned or in some far-flung province. But it's usually the case, right? 3 out of 10. And as a country, our tourism is stronger local than it is international, right? It's 80, I think it's 70 or 70%, max 80% of our tourism's local. So parang farm tourism's a no-brainer, right? And I don't think the barrier to entry is very high kasi pwede mo naman siyang gapangin. Like little at a time, you can research what's happening in India farm tourism, or in Italy farm tourism, or in Japan farm tourism. There's one beach farm in Zambales called Zambales Beach Farm, which we've worked with also. Very interesting because they're able to create a unique set of soil called biochar, which when mixed with volcanic ash holds water and nutrients very well. So your fertilizer grows a longer. They've been able to create a beach farm that's fully organic.
Wow, amazing. Talagang this is really medyo uncharted territory, but it's, I think, something that we could look forward to in the future. And speaking of, so how do you think, Raf, would agritourism be relevant to our future plate? No, ito yung ating namesake ng podcast.
Well, I would say that personally, me as a farm tourism customer, meaning tourist mode ako, and me as a farm tourism entrepreneur, in those two paradigms, I learned so much about our food. Talaga doon ko nakita na, ito pala yun, dito pala galing ito. Bahay kubo pala is not representative of all our local vegetables. It has a lot of foreign vegetables in it. So if farm tourism can go deep and it can really connect with the older generation of farmers, and the older knowledge of agriculture, then I think what you see on your plate will start to diversify a lot, and it won't be just foreign items like quinoa or French beans, right? Or Chinese cabbage. I mean, they're great stuff, right? But there are many interesting local things you can eat that are healthy, and they'll be cheaper because they'll probably be grown locally, or they just grow more efficiently in our country versus a foreign item, an imported kind of food, no? A simple thing that we take for granted, dahon ng sili. Not most Filipinos would eat that, but if you grow up in the center of Manila, you may have skipped, chili leaves, diba? Or alugbati is something that not everybody gets to eat, or mustard flowers, yung mustasa, sarap din nun, no? Dami lang. Wing beans.
Nasa bahay kubo yun, Benj. Ano nga ba yun?
Sigarilyas.
Ay, ang galing.
Sigarilyas ba? Ayun. Oo. Dami pa eh. Nice lang if we had more food guides on local farming, which we're trying to create. I'll send you guys a link of yung mga natural teas you can get within the Philippines. Just get the tea and boil it. At the leaf and then boil it.
I've had an experience na rin na yung kapag kayo mga bata yung mga gagawa ng, yun nga, parang sabi mo, tea buffet. Magiging interested talaga sila inumin. Yeah. So, even adults na-excite ko. So, yung sinabi mo, naniniwala talaga ako kasi nakita ko talaga siya that it works.
Yeah, it
Diba?
does. Oh, have you tried yung tsaan ng dahon ng kawayan, bamboo tea leaf?
Di pa. Talaga?
Yun. Try mo.
Kawayan.
Masarap yun. Oh,
Talaga?
kawayan. And it's interesting because I went
Bago.
on a sustainable farm tourism parang scholarship program abroad. When I got there, they served me 3 things. They served una blue ternate tea, yung blue butterfly tea. Second, they served roselle tea, yung tinatawag na alas 12 sa Zambales. Marami dito eh. No?
Rosella. Parang Rosella.
Rosella yon. Oh. And then third, bamboo tea. It's like, pucha, itong lahat. I have all of this at home. I will make tea when I get home. Ayun.
Oo, common
And ano
yung
siya?
Rosella Carcade. Parang Carcade yung tawag niya dito and sa
Ayun.
Mediterranean.
Yeah, no, it's great that you're familiar with it, but not. Parang I wish it was in school. Not I have to travel to another country to understand it, no. And when I went to some public schools for to do some educational tourism programs with them, I saw it there, but they weren't using it as tea. They're like, dyan lang yan. Yeah, maasim yan, but we don't use it. Sayang, it's right there. No, such a good item. So, ayun, it triggers your culinary interest, and maybe we'll have more chefs in the Philippines if agritourism takes off. Kasi sasarap kain.
Tama. Okay. Alright. So, thank you, Raf. Ang dami naming napulot na insights from you. Siguro yung mga biggest takeaways ko from this is really it's a collaboration. Agritourism, hindi siya one-sided. Hindi natin pwedeng iasa na nasa isang tao lang yung skill set na kailangan for it to succeed. So,
Yeah.
multicultural siya. And
That's true. If I can add on that lang, it's always exciting to work with tourism promotions board and local tourism kasi we go to the community tells us what they know, and then we dig deeper, get to know them, research, then we tell them, oh, ito pa pwede. And then when we start talking to the local tourism head, they'll be like, dagdag nyo to. And then when the national tourism comes in, they're like, oh, dagdag mo rin to. And so suddenly you have such an interesting mix because of all the pooled knowledge, and everyone just wants the tourism to work, to make sure it's good food, it's healthy, and people get paid, and that it doesn't harm the environment. No? And so our program in Zambales, Tribes and Checks, was born that way. The local tourism, the provincial tourism headed at us, the municipal tourism headed at us, the community, and then now the national then is very interested in it then, and I'm sure every time someone goes, gaganda siya. No? So there really is that collaboration. And siguro parang kasi maybe just one mindset that I wanted to share is many times when we say the word government or gobyerno, the assumption there is the government has to do most or all of the work, right? And parang I'm of the perspective na they'll do some of the work, but you cannot make them do all of it. Parang private citizens then have to work on it, no? So yung naghihintay na lang, hindi, let's make something happen. So that would be the fastest way to push the agritourism or farm tourism forward.
Wow, so grabe, ang dami ko rin talagang napagtanto ngayong gabi, no? And maybe just some of the reflections are, actually there's been a rise in tourist destinations that call themselves farms. Some, of course, medyo hindi grassroots yung dating, like they were wealthy to start with, they had some land and make use of it. But yung sa GK, as you mentioned, and I've been there, iba talaga yung approach nila. And I'm really looking forward to more of the immersive types of agritourism na talagang especially for urban dwellers, no, I have a 3-year-old din na syempre wala naman siyang connection sa mga farm except when he gets to visit all of these things and get to know about how food are grown and what types of cuisines are there and what things you can eat na edible pala yan, cha-cha pala yan. So hopefully, yun nga, in the future, I'm looking forward as well sa mga natutulungan ninyo. And yeah, we plan to go back to Zambales actually din. And mga sobrang dami na nga doon. I mean, even before, yung meron pa sila na yung, I think sa agroforestry na yun, yung mga cooking in bamboo and survival. Pero that's for another episode. Anyway, yun, no, sana dumami pa yung mga ganitong klaseng endeavors. And how about you, Raf? What final message would you like to leave with our listeners?
Well, I would say, try to support as what we learned in COVID. If you can support our farmers, please do. That would be great. No? And you can support in several ways. You can support with what you buy. You can support also by working with them to help them level up their products, no? Or even just helping them market. Like I think that's a very big opportunity. Because when you start to demand, the markets will follow what you want. I think that's one that can be done. And I'm seeing it kasi Philippine coffee is making a comeback from, kasi dati ang daming coffee trees, but backstory pala, the price of coffee plummeted, and so people changed their coffee trees for something else. No? But when coffee demand started to rise here, the people are now more incentivized to plant coffee as well. No? Ayun, no? So yeah, just support. And if you want to do some farm tourism experiences, please message us at Mad Travel. No? Our Instagram's @madtravel_ph. Or Facebook then, but you can check it out. We'd be happy to work with you guys to bring you guys to farms. And if you want to refer a farm that might do well partnering with us, super happy to do that then. No? Because I think farms as classrooms will be a good trend, and every school needs a farm classroom. No?
Ganon, farm classroom. Yes, I'm excited for that. So thank you again, Raf. And that's it for this episode. Sundan nyo kami for the next episode. Until next time, bye!
Goodbye and see you in our next episode of The Future Plate. For more content and to engage with us, like our Facebook page, Future Plate Podcast,
or join our Facebook group, Future Plate Collective,
and also follow us on Instagram @Future Plate Podcast.
Stay tuned!